Well, welcome back up to the Tower of Trinity English. We're up here for another edition of The View from Here. It finally stopped raining, so we can get here. Today, we got our friend here from Trinity English, Dan Swartz. Dan's with a group called Wunderkammer, and he's big into the art scene here, and community and stuff. So, Dan, I'm just glad to have you up
Thank you very much for inviting me. This is awesome.
Yeah. So here we are, kind of like midway up the height of the city, and looking out over it. And what do you do? I mean, what's Wunderkammer do? What do you do?
That is an interesting question. So
your mother's been asking that question.
Yeah. So Wunderkammer is a contemporary art center. So what we describe that as, or typically describe that as, is like if an art gallery and a community center had a baby. So that's the easiest way I feel to describe it. I don't know if that actually explains it to anybody, but so we work with every form of art. So my background's in visual art, but like right now we have a musical up, so we try to work with musicians, theater, writing, dance, just any form of creative expression. And then the mission of our organization is revitalizing communities through contemporary art, and so we really try to tie artists and art into the community, but also like community development projects. So we end up working with social service nonprofits, economic development agencies, the city, like governmental institutions, kind of anybody basically who cares about stuff we're down to work with. And so then that looks like totally different things. And then I guess in a boastful way, a unique thing about us, I think, is our openness to doing all of that, but also kind of everything at once. And so there's a lot of unplanned connections and kind of that, I don't know, the X factor or whatever is that you don't really know what's going to happen when you walk in the doors, and you also don't know who's going to be there because there's so many different groups that are interacting.
You know, one time, a couple years ago, I happened to be in London, and a few of us went to the Tate Modern Gallery, and I'm walking through this museum, and I love it there. I love it at the Tate. One of the things I'm thinking is that I don't understand people, right? Okay. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but I'm looking at, at this expression that people are trying to tell me something, right? These artists are trying to tell me something. I'm saying, I don't understand, right? And that's I think that's institutionally part of a problem for church. Sometimes we've stopped trying to understand. But how could what you do help me understand better?
I don't know. That is an awesome philosophical question. I feel like, especially in context for like contemporary art and how people tend to experience it, I think that is a total challenge, and that's a given challenge. And I think anybody who expects people to just understand it automatically is wrong. And do you know what I mean? Because you should have some background in it if you really want to know what's going on. But I think that contemporary art and modern art is a really interesting form of human expression, in that the way that I describe it to people is like, if we're blocking out most of our senses, but we still have our visual sense, and then trying to communicate with people. And some people do communicate like that, because of disabilities. I'm not sure what the politically correct way to say that is, but that's really how visual artists are communicating with people. And so you're getting to like vague ideas, you're getting to muted expressions sometimes, but then when you just fall in love with an image, for some reason that image just went straight into whatever we are, depending on your background or whatever you think about humans, and it strikes a chord with you that allows you to open up all of those other senses because of that visual or that physical presence. So I would say that I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I describe contemporary art usually, is that it's very intuitive, and it's very selective, or it's on a personal basis. And so I would say from a faith basis, I guess, I think that that's kind of similar. I think that the art world in itself kind of is similar to the faith world, in that if you get it, it's with you for your whole life. Like it is the most real thing that you know. But if you don't get it, it's really hard to explain it to somebody else that hasn't experienced that or whatever. So I think in a way, maybe, and hopefully this isn't blasphemous. I don't know if it is. I am not good at not being blasphemous. So let me know if I'm going against doctrine. But I feel like kind of if you're doing it right, experiencing contemporary art is close to or similar to religious experience. Because it's an unknown, you don't always know why it's happening to you, even until you explore it.
I think that's accurate. I think that's, you're really on to that. I think you're dead on to that.
And in the art world, there's millions of failures before you get that one experience. So I don't know if that's similar necessarily with the religious world, but maybe it is, that it's not, I can't make anybody feel that. I can only provide an opportunity where you might feel that, but for the majority of people, most of the time, it's not working, and so you're just constantly like searching in the dark, kind of trying to figure out what is your thing that's going to respond to you. It might be totally different for every other person. So,
in our business, in what I do, we say to people, well, have you prayed? And somebody say, well, I prayed and nothing happened. What doesn't work that way? It doesn't really work that way. But so what, you think this is a one-off kind of? I prayed, nothing happened. So
no. Well, that's actually kind of similar for me though. Of like, well, I went to that show, but I didn't like any of those pieces. And I'm like, well, okay, but like, go to a million other shows, and like it's the pursuit more than the activity, I guess, or the action. Maybe?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's the same.
I never really thought about that though. That there are some more similarities than what I realized. I think that the art world a lot of times gets and maybe we give ourselves a bad rap of the religious world and the art world no longer can communicate in the same way, but like we came from literally the exact same place because
we're human beings.
But I mean even just historically, like in medieval times, like art was for the church. That is where my world came from very exclusively. It was portraits of rich people and church objects is where it came from. So
the Virgin and Jesus and Moses.
That's literally what and then it eventually turned into these two separate worlds or whatever. But so I never realized, I guess, how similar the activity or the pursuit still is. Especially now too, and I'm gonna blame the internet for this, I guess, but like we're so different because we can be different, because we can find, like, I don't have to fit in with you because we live next to each other anymore. I have friends in Japan now or whatever, and so I can be a completely different person than my social group or my physical social group. I don't know what that's called, and so I feel like that makes it difficult for everybody to relate, because we don't have to relate to people physically anymore. We can just be friends on the internet. And I think that people are starting to realize how, not fake, because I think that people can have really deep relationships, like pen pals have always existed or whatever, but I think you can have a deep relationship with somebody that you don't know, but there's a limit to that, and by not having that and personal relationships in your community, you're missing something. And so I think that's starting to happen in society, I guess, in general, of just understanding that you need both and all versus one or the other.
We have friends at a seminary in Virginia Theological Seminary, and they talk a lot about social media in church. And they say, one of the things they say is that good social media should make you want to be in physical connection with somebody. Right? It should make you want to be there, not like, well, I'll go to church on the computer. I want to actually go to church, or like if I see you on my Facebook page or whatever, I should want to have lunch with you someday.
I think that's totally true.
And I think what you're doing at Wonder Commer is trying to say, here's a place. Gather, I mean, it's something more than just espresso at Starbucks. Which is
which isn't bad either.
Which isn't bad, but here's a place where we can connect and talk about our humanity together.
That's what, and I think that's the strength of those spaces that so in, I don't know, in technical terms or whatever, it's called a third space. And really, I think that, churches, I think, are third spaces. They just have a primary reason in a third space or whatever of where you don't have to be doing something when you're there. You can exist in the space, and that sometimes is the function of the space.
Yeah,
Versus like, you're not shopping, so get out, or you're not whatever, so get out.
Well, you know, we do this thing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday called Open Doors, from 10 a.m. to 2, and there's not a worship going on, and we came back when we started doing that. People asked us, why would we want to do that? Because we don't have church service going on then. But it's about, can we just open this space? Anybody can come in, and we don't tell you what you have to think or what you have to do. I mean, people come in, they sit. This one guy comes
just
in
for rest.
You know, sometimes you come in and look around. We have people say, "Oh, I've always wanted to come in."
It's a beautiful building. Yeah.
You know, we have people who just come in and pray or just sit. You know, we don't tell them how you have to. You know, when you come on Sunday morning, I tell you how you have to interact with them. Well,
where to turn in the hymnal, or whatever.
But that sense of third space of, you know, we want this to be. You know, that same.
I think that's a powerful thing in general, and I think that's becoming more powerful in the trajectory that the modern world is going. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going really deep into things that maybe don't deserve to go that deep into it, but the way that we're interacting with each other and the way that things are happening, I think that those like rest spaces, a non-objective, I guess, would be spaces are really important for people to literally calm themselves. Because if you don't have something like that, there's always a notification on your phone. You're late to something. You have to drive across town to get to something or whatever. You know what I mean? And so without those rest moments and that peace, like the ability to have peace, I think we weren't designed for this. We've designed this world onto ourselves, and the peace part is something that's in us from a genetic standpoint or whatever. And so I think it's needed.
Cool.